All right, that's the Neotech 372 that I built. I've been thinking about it. I think we're going to run that at Clone Wars. I had my choice. I had my choice between the Hopper 372 and this 372. So I think what I'm going to do is, as of right now, I'm planning on running the Hopper built 372 in the 5 cubic inch class and the regular wood classes, and I'll run this one in the Clone Wars. And part of the reason I really want to do this in the Clone Wars is because Neotech kind of like sponsors Sawfest, and I want to try to get a really good video of me running this saw at Sawfest for the Neotech people. Last year they asked people if they had any clips. This year they asked people if they had any clips, and a lot of us aren't really trying to make like little featured clips of their Neotechs and stuff for the Neotech people. And this year I'm going to try to do it. So I'll have to make sure I take 2 cameras, one for the actual race and one specifically for me to record a nice shot of this being ran at the race. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's the plan. I pulled the chain off. I put one of my chains on. So this is running my sharpening, and this is going to be the first time I've tried to get it first time right out of the gate. I've been working on my chains by sharpening them and tweaking things, slowly over time until I get them just right. This is the first time I'm really going to try to get it right the first time. You know what I mean? So, most of the time you can get it. Most of the time, especially cutting firewood and stuff, you don't need to worry about that. You know what I mean? You're just cutting firewood, but we're going for, in a race situation, you kind of want to make sure your chain's dialed in for that saw. So a lot of my chains are saw specific. They are specific to that saw, and they will only ever be ran on that saw because they are dialed in to that saw. And I'm going to try to get this one first time right out of the gate. You know what I mean? So we're going to fire it up. I might play with the tune for a minute here, kind of see how she does, and work at getting her ready. This is going to be my Clone Wars entry, though, for Sawfest. So this is probably going to be the first time you've seen it with me actually giving it a proper run, getting it ready for a race. You know what I mean? All the times before this was just, running it for firewood or whatever, and we're going to work at getting her dialed up for a proper race. And those of you who have been waiting on the Johnson Red 2149 build, all the parts just finally arrived. It's been a while. It took a while. So now it's time for me to start working on making the carburetor swap out that I want to do. And I'll bring you into a special video on that. I just want to say that I finally got the parts in, and we'll be able to start working on that assembly. And I have no idea how it's going to work out. I just got a bunch of parts, and we're going to mix and match parts and stuff until we get her together. So now I have a nice discussion about compression and low compression and all that stuff that we're going to go ahead and do at the end of this little cutting session. So I'm going to reveal some details about what I'm doing to build saws, some details that I've never shared before. So yeah, alrighty, let's get into some cutting. All right, I decided to put a tack on this saw. I've never tacked it. Let's see what she does. Alright, I just got done tacking it. I can tell you for 100% for certain that coil is limited. I can lean it out, and as soon as I get it leaned out enough to where it starts getting above 14 grand, you can see the coil pulling it down. It'll free rev up to about 14 or so, and then once I hit that point, by leaning the jet out, you'll see it. If you hold the trigger open for long enough, you'll see the RPM start getting pulled down. And it doesn't matter what you do. You can fatten it up until it starts coming down, or if you lean it out to a point, once it gets that 14 grand mark, it's happening around 14. Maybe just a hair above it. But you'll see it. You'll hold it wide open, it'll hit that 14, and it'll start dropping. And it's dropping down to around 13.5 at the free rev. So I don't know what this thing is actually capable of doing on a free rev. The coil is pulling it down as soon as it hits the 14. The question is whether or not that's hurting me in the cut. I don't think it is, but I'm wondering. I don't think I ever advanced the timing on this saw. If you've seen enough of my videos, I don't usually do it. But some of them I do. I think this one needs it, and I don't think I ever have. So we might look at that in the future, but I'm probably not going to do that until I get an unlimited coil in this, just to clean that up. I like to be unlimited for the simple fact I like to tune on the travel off the tach. It's a few seconds on the free rev, I can get my tach number and fatten it up or lean it out to get it back to where it needs to be. And I'm usually close enough that I don't need to worry about nothing. You know, it takes a few seconds on each saw and you're tuned. You're ready to go. So that's how I do it. But yeah, interesting. Definitely have a limited coil. I can see it. You can see it in the tach. It drops. But anyway, on with the video. I got more cutting for you. I made a whole bunch of cuts, so I'll show you those cuts, but then we're going to come back in and talk about the compression and so forth of different builds and some of the stuff I've been doing. Already starting the clutch on this thing is starting to go, but it's the clutch spring, so the chain's not wanting to shut down. We'll see though. It might have just been a one-time thing, but I got a feeling the clutch is starting to go bad. Oh, and it's got a compression release now. I never had a compression release on it before. I put one on. So, as promised, we're going to have ourselves a little discussion about compression, and we'll reveal some things that I've never revealed to you before. Neighbor has a side-by-side over there, ripping and tearing. But, so, I've spoke about compression in the last couple of videos and talking about how I'm trying to get saws to perform really well while bringing their compression down. I've been relying a lot on higher compression to do my builds. And I've also been working on trying to figure out, the port work to make a saw really good, fast, and torquey and everything while keeping the compression kind of low. The thing is, like the port work, the first time I showed any of that is on the Johnson Red. And then I really started talking about the compression and stuff while we were running the 395 clone. And it actually started with this one. This is the Neotech 372 clone that I built to be lower on compression. And when I say lower on compression, people are going to be like, but that's not low compression. And I know, lower than what I would normally do to perform well. I mean, it was nothing for me to run 240 pound of compression before. This one's sitting at about 180. So I got her down quite a bit. And the port work that I showed you on the 2149, again, this one looks just like it. So I don't think the exhaust roof on this is as high though. It's not quite as high, but it's up there. It's well into the 90s. Well into the 90s. And I'm actually pretty happy with the way this one's turned out. I think it could use just a touch more in speed, chain speed, and a touch more in torque. And it's not a whole lot. I think we're tickling probably 8.5 horse right now out of this saw. I have saws that have been dyno ran, and just by running them, I think this is probably sitting right around 8.5 horse. And I'd like to get it up closer to 9. But a half a horse could be, a long way off. It can be, it can be involved trying to get that. It's not like, your normal porting where you do a couple of little tweaks and you get huge gains. I'm at that point where I got to do the little tweaks to get or the big tweaks or whatever to get the small gains. So it's a little more involved to get to that final. But I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see how it does at Clone Wars before I make any decisions on any changes. So like I said, she's sitting at like 180 pound of compression. I mean, you can tell she's got the compression. And I put a compression release on it to help ease it. But this compression release, I don't know. It's not the greatest. I think I'm going to buy compression releases meant for like 395s or so to put in 372s. They have 2 larger holes to release the compression, where these ones have 1 hole. So if I buy compression releases meant for like 395s, I should be able to drop the 372 compression a little better. You know what I mean? That's my plan. I haven't done it yet. But yeah, I have been working on the compression and bringing them down. And this is actually the first one that I tried it on. And it seems to be working out, you know? I'm very happy with the way it's running. Very happy. So, you know what I mean? Way easier to pull over than the 372 that Hopper built. You know what I mean? This is way easier to start. So, that's something to, you know, keep in mind. What else? I don't know. Oh yeah. So, you've seen the piston modifications I've done. Now, a little secret about the builds. You've seen the piston modifications I've done. This one has that modification. The 395 it has that piston modification. The 2149 has that modification. The Husky 5000 build that I've done has that modification. You know, they're all performing pretty good. Especially whenever you end up with a number, you know, way into the 90s. I think they do perform just fine. But I can tell you that when you take your number and adjust it out of the piston, it runs differently than if you raise the roof. So let's say you put your roof at 100 and you take a notch out of the piston to put it at 96. If you compare that to one that you just raised the exhaust roof to 96, they're going to run differently. And I find that some like it and some don't. Now, I don't remember, but I don't think my 4Cube build has that piston modification in it. And it seems to be, I don't know, something about it does seem to be a little special. So, I'm thinking about starting to go through these saws one at a time, now that I've ran them for a little bit, and do piston swaps to take away that modification and see how they perform after I do that. I had a gentleman comment on the channel that it would change the velocity in which the gases can come out, and I think he said that I'm slowing it down. The words that he used makes me think he really knows what he's talking about. He used words that it's almost like you have to have a lot of experience with this to know. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking about starting to go through these one at a time and swapping the pistons out and doing like a before and after. We'll see though. We'll see how things progress. I'd essentially would be lowering the roof on all of them, and the question is whether or not that lowering of the roof will speed them up or slow them down. I got a feeling that they may actually increase, because I don't think I did that modification on my 4Cube build, which, if you're familiar with them saws, they look like a 372 inside. They're just like a 48 millimeter 372. And I don't think I did with that one, and that one obviously seems to run better than pretty much all of these. It has a different characteristic to it about the way it runs. It's making me think that I should go through and start swapping some pistons. So we'll be playing with that in the future. But instead of showing you the port work on this saw, showing you the port work on the 395, showing you port work on that pulling 4Cube build, you know what I mean? Instead of showing you how I ported all of these, I basically just showed you on the 2179. And that one, I got a feeling, is not going to like that piston work that I did. I got a feeling. So I'm probably going to have to put another piston in it. And if I have to do all this stuff, it may not be race ready for Sawfest, but no big deal, because we have a saw we can run anyway. You know what I mean? If it ain't ready, it ain't ready. I'm not going to try to rush it. It'll happen when it happens. So we'll see how things play out. But there you go. A little bit talk about this compression and stuff. And I'm raising the roof. I'm doing all this stuff, and it really is bringing the compression down on the saws. It is. But I don't know. I'm not eliminating compression releases. I'm actually looking at putting other compression releases in to help it relieve compression. So, you know, it's been known for a long time to plug the compression release to help, because they have a tendency to leak, and I'm not. I'm putting them in and I'm modifying or changing them out or swapping them out or whatever to try to reduce the compression even more. So I guess you could say I'm kind of being a little backwards on that one, but I figure, you know, if it leaks, put in a new one. That's kind of my thought. So there we go. The Neotech, we're gonna try to do some special footage for it at Sawfest. I don't expect it to come in first, but I think it'll do just right, just all right. You know what I mean? I don't think it's going to be a last place salt. I think it'll be just fine. And I mean, most of my races, I end up with horrible times because I did a horrible job. So on my run, I should say, I screwed something up. So yeah, there we go. I do think it needs a clutch, and we'll be running it at Sawfest in the Clone Wars. So, alrighty, later.